I had the basic idea of Sorley, and I knew that I wanted him to be trapped, but I had to really take the dynamic of the relationship between Sorley and George to a deeper level. And I knew that the element about the father would be an important part of the story. But I think that what was the final idea that really brought the whole thing together was a story about Sorley wetting his bed and his best friend not wanting to say anything about it. That story is, in fact, a true story. I grew up and had a best friend named Kevin, and he had done the exact same thing for me. I had wet the bed. I was incredibly mortified by it, and the next morning when I said, don't tell anyone about this, he said, tell anyone about what? So that was a very memorable, very powerful story of friendship from my childhood. And when I thought to include it in the story of Intermission, that was my opportunity to show that George had kind of acquired a level of humanity. He had grown over the past year being Sorley's companion and had learned what it meant to love. And that was an important thing that I wanted to convey in the story. I also want to talk a little bit about casting Peter's story. Peter and I grew up together. We've known each other since we were teenagers. We visited each other in college when we were both studying acting. And I've known him my entire life, practically. And I had known that Peter's voice was the kind of voice that I wanted for George. He has always had this kind of comforting voice, and his talent as an actor really, I thought, would be perfect for this character. I had really wanted to cast like an older actor for the voice of the father once George manipulated his voice to sound like the dad's. That was my plan, hire somebody. But Peter said in his email, he said, I took a crack at it. I did a few things to kind of alter my voice, and I think that I could do the part of the dad as well as George. And I listened to it, and as I was listening, my eyes welled up with tears, and that was it. Of course, Peter could pull that off, as I knew he would, and he nailed it.
Sorley. Son, it's your dad.
He gave a killer performance as George. He was never physically in the desert with me. He was in Sacramento the entire time. So what you're seeing in the short with me acting opposite George's dialogue is I was just talking to nothing. Every time I would say a line, I would just hear him in my head saying it back to me, and then I laid it in later. Hey, George, what's a Cracker Jack? That sounds so good right now. I'm so annoyed by that motorcycle. Should we cut?
No, because that was a great opening.
Was
Just
it?
Keep going.
Just keep going?
Really hear it.
You couldn't really hear it? Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. You want to take it again or just from right here?
Right there.
Okay.